The villagers' eyes were fixed on him with a mix of gratitude and suspicion. Some had already knocked their arrows, ready for confrontation. While a few villagers were grateful for his aid, others harbored doubts. One villager questioned, "What were you thinking? Why did you eliminate the monsters?" Another accused, "They must be the monsters he brought with him." Yet another added skeptically, "Right, wasn't it odd? How a monster just suddenly appeared?" After hearing their unfounded accusations, Azadin responded in a calm, albeit slightly perplexed tone, I'm not sure why the monster appeared either." Amidst the confusion, Azadin stood unflinching like a lion in the midst of turmoil, his cloak billowing dramatically in the wind. In a steady but commanding voice, he explained, "As you all know, I simply fulfill my duties according to the Emperor's golden coin. Someone used one, actually, to make a wish on your behalf." The crowd froze, their confusion palpable. Breaking the silence, one man exclaimed, "What?" The captain, trembling and soaked in sweat, stuttered, "A wish to the demon of the golden coin?" Whispers of panic and doubt spread through the group. "That means, it was a villager who did it." "But who?" one soldier speculated. Another added nervously, "I know we've been struggling, but to make a wish to the Herald Clan." A brown-haired soldier stepped forward, his voice carrying over the murmurs, Is it one of us?" Azadin, unyielding, responded firmly, "I am not obligated to tell you that, nor do I have the authority to do so." The brown-haired soldier clenched his teeth in frustration, murmuring, "Cook." Azadin, his presence commanding, questioned, "Can I pass now? Or will you fight me for the king's church, despite having been raided and abandoned by the noble's illegitimate son not long ago?" The black-haired soldier, visibly agitated by Azadin's words, resisted the truth in them. Defiantly, he yelled, "Do not speak ill of our faith." Azadin began to walk away from the scene, his tone dismissive yet incisive. "Yes, you are all faithful citizens, of course." From behind the debris, the bandit leader emerged, his face wet with tears, having hidden in terror during the battle. His mind raced with thoughts, "Is this it? Is it really over?" As Azadin passed by, the man collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed with relief. Azadin paused, a faint smile appearing on his lips. Gazing down at the man, he advised gently, "Be kind. You've been given a second chance at life." The bandit leader's tears flowed as he realized he had survived, miraculously saved by Azadin. Azadin then leapt effortlessly onto the wall where the captain and the soldiers, the brown-haired and black-haired ones, stood. The black-haired soldier raised his weapon, ready to strike, but the captain intervened, "Stop. Do not attack." Walking along the wall, Azadin approached a large basket filled with arrows. Without asking permission, he picked up a handful, inspecting them nonchalantly. "I'll just take a few arrows." "That's fine, right?" The captain hesitated before replying quietly, "Thanks." As Azadin gracefully leapt from the wall, he muttered to himself, "What a fool. Had the wrong ears caught that, he'd likely face execution." Walking away, the Emperor's voice addressed Azadin, "The golden coin? You fibbed quite effortlessly." Azadin offered a slight smirk in response, "Otherwise, they'd be paralyzed by fear, thinking they had entangled themselves with me." The Emperor's voice pressed further, "Don't you hold any resentment? After all, they treated you with contempt, even after you vanquished that monster for them." Azadin's voice softened, "Humans are inherently weak. Besides, they showed kindness when I masqueraded as a blind man. That alone is worthy of some commendation." His smirk widened, "Though, I must admit, I'm exhausted. The run here was taxing enough, and battling without the golden coin has only added to my fatigue." Elsewhere, Azadin, who had staunchly defended the gateway to the east from the King of Tooth, hastened onwards, and came upon Mediam and Ismail, who were descending the path with a torch in hand. Upon spotting him, Ismail waved exuberantly, "Ah, Azadin, you're here." Mediam, inquisitive and seemingly unaffected by her lineage as a proud member of the Ethar founding family, chimed in, "So, what happened? What about the monsters? How long were you there? Were the people grateful after you defeated the monsters?" Azadin responded, "It was an ogre and a troop of goblins. There was also a Kurt." "A Kurt?" Mediam's eyes widened. "You vanquished a Kurt goblin?" "It wasn't particularly formidable." Azadin dismissed the feat casually. Despite feeling worn and fatigued, Azadin maintained his pace. Mediam and Ismail, trailing behind, speculated, "The appearance of an ogre and the King of Tooth suggests that a horde of monsters might be encroaching on the central hinterland, correct?" "There's a possibility," Azadin conceded. Then, Mediam paused for thought. "Based on what I observed, there were ogres, magic-wielding goblins, and hobgoblins commanding squads. It resembled an organized military force," Azadin recounted, noting that they seemed to be in search of a copy of the magical book. The realization dawned that a scouting troop of monsters had been dispatched specifically to locate the tome. Does this mean they possess a number of these staves? He pondered aloud. Ismail regarded him thoughtfully before commenting, "You expended a lot of energy for no tangible reward." Azadin raised an eyebrow, replying, "Mid-Ayam believes there's profound beauty in aiding and protecting others." Mid-Ayam puffed out her chest proudly, shooting Ismail a triumphant glance. Azadin, adjusting his gaze back to that of a pilgrim, added with a subtle smile, "Life lacks luster without a dash of aesthetic pleasure." Mid-Ayam laughed, teasing, "Ismail's never been one for fun, has he?" Changing the subject, Azadin removed his eye mask and inquired, "It seems you two managed to break free. Did the evacuees simply let you go?" Grinning broadly, Mid-Ayam recounted, "They tried to detain us initially, but Ismail proposed we'd handle the lesser monsters for them. After that, they reluctantly agreed to let us go." Ismail nodded, appreciation in his voice. "They were kind-hearted folk, even gifted us this torch. Though, I suspect they were unaware we're from Aragasa." Mid-Ayam, brimming with youthful pride, added with a smirk, "It's likely because I'm quite charming." Azadin responded with dry amusement, "Oh, is that so? Not because you're a mere child, but because you're charming?" "Of course." Mid-Ayam, her pride slightly wounded, retorted sharply, "I'm 13. You know, there's a queen in the north who married at my age." Azadin, ignoring her indignation, shifted the topic to the object in his hand. "Mid-Ayam, do you recognize this?" he asked, holding up the wand he had taken from the Kirtkin. Mid-Ayam inspected it closely, turning it over in her hands. "Could it be a magic wand?" she ventured a guess. "The Kirtkin wielded it," Azadin confirmed. Mid-Ayam sighed, the weight of the task dawning on her. "This will require intense focus. I'm not exactly brimming with energy right now." Her spirits lifted as she probed further. "Does this mean you're finally recognizing me as your apprentice?" Azadin dismissed her query with a cool rebuff. "Must I be recruiting you to ask for a simple favor among kin?" Challenged, Mid-Ayam smirked and negotiated, "Then, you owe me a favor in return." Azadin exhaled in mild exasperation. "All right. Inspect it tomorrow, then." With a swift motion, Azadin leaped onto a sturdy tree branch, seeking higher ground. "Where are you headed in such a rush?" Mid-Ayam inquired, struggling to keep pace. Perched on a tree branch, Azadin called down with urgency in his voice, "I need to hurry. Come with me." Below, Mid-Ayam stood, her brow furrowed in confusion as she looked up. "Why are we in such a hurry?" she asked, her tone reflecting her puzzlement. As they hastened their pace, they eventually rejoined the villagers they had left earlier. A blonde woman in the group noticed their arrival and exclaimed in surprise, "Oh, when did you all get here? The children have been searching for you," her voice tinged with worry. Azadin responded calmly, albeit a bit disoriented, "I wandered off a bit. They're clever kids, they'll find their way. More importantly," he hesitated, then continued, "I heard cheers of victory from the village." The woman looked puzzled. "Victory? I'm not sure what you mean." Azadin offered an awkward smile, leveraging his acute hearing. "You might want to consider returning to the village now." He pointed toward the village, suggesting, "Perhaps you could signal them with lanterns from here?" The woman hesitated, unsure, when an older man interjected excitedly, "Look, the lanterns at the gates are lit. The vigilante committee must have succeeded. Maybe send a small group to verify first." A wave of excitement swept through the villagers, leading to an impromptu celebration. The blonde woman turned to thank Azadin, but he had already slipped away. Azadin, ever the solitary figure, moved swiftly, muttering to himself about his exhaustion, "I'm far too weary for all this fanfare. I could fall asleep standing up." However, his attention was abruptly drawn to a distant smoke plume on the other side of the mountain. He paused, his curiosity piqued. What could that smoke signify? Meanwhile, Tarki and his mercenaries, laden with looted valuables from the village, were resting along the mountain path. Despite their fatigue, they remained vigilant due to the notorious dangers of the mountain. Two guards stationed outside a tent discussed their grim outlook. With the drought and an ogre to contend with, it's madness that Margrave Kazel prioritizes hunting for the Book of the Divine King over protecting his people, one guard lamented, shaking his head in dismay. The other guard shrugged off the concern with a pragmatic tone, "We just need to complete one significant task and then make our exit. Staying employed longer just means more money for us." Unseen in the shadows, Azadin watched from a nearby cliff, his eyes sharp and calculating. "That must be the encampment of that despicable fugitive," he surmised, noting the tent brimming with valuables. Observing the lucrative opportunity, he mused to himself about his dwindling funds. "I'm running low on money, and travel isn't cheap." His spectral companion, the Emperor's voice, chimed in, sensing an opportunity. You've stumbled upon a treasure trove, Azadin. With a calculated smirk, Azadin settled in, contemplating his next move. Indeed, I'm in need of funds. Traveling demands it, after all.